Hello, second grade, and welcome to Unit 4, Week 3, and to second semester. Let's go ahead and get started with our vocabulary words. Our first word is the word wonder. So if you've ever wondered about something, you're thinking about it, or you're curious about it. Like you can say, I wonder what the weather will be like tomorrow, or I wonder what movie we're going to watch at the sleepover. Next, you have the word surrounded. Surrounded means that there's something on all sides. You're closed in on all sides of something. So if you're standing in the middle of a flower field, you can say that you're surrounded by flowers. Or if, for example, you're playing Ring Around the Rosie and someone's standing in the middle, that person is surrounded by the people who are holding hands around them. We have the word travels. If something travels through a place, that means you're going through it. So if a car travels through the forest, it's driving through the forest. If you have a train that travels through a tunnel, that means it's going through that tunnel. Next, we have the word costume. So a costume is a kind of clothing that you wear to make you look like something else or someone else. So you might wear a costume if you're going to a dress-up event in your classroom. Your costume might be like a ballerina or a princess, or it might be like a T-Rex or a cowboy or a character from a movie. Next, we have the word favorite. So when you're telling me what your favorite thing is, you're telling me the thing that you like the most, the thing that you think is best. Next, we have parades. Parades are when you have a large group of people who are moving through a place for an event. So you might have a parade to celebrate something exciting that happened. You might have a band that marches in a parade. Next, we have the word customs. Customs are the way you act or special events that a group of people have done for many, many years, or they do it many times. So it may be a custom to offer your guests coffee and tea when they come to visit. Or some customs might be that after a certain holiday that the whole family gathers for a family dinner. Next, we have the word common. So something that is common between people means it's shared by them. So they may have their eye color, they might have a common eye color. So they may both have green eyes or they both have brown eyes. When you have something in common with somebody, that means you and them have the same kind of thing. Maybe something you have in common is your favorite movie or your favorite toy or a favorite game. Next, we're going to talk about our spelling words for this week, and we're going to talk about R-controlled vowels that focus on the spelling with O-R, O-R-E, O-A-R, and then with A-R. So O-R, O-R-E, and O-A-R all make the same sound. They all say or, like the word chore, sore, or short. A-R it's like the sound you hear when you say the word arm. So we're hearing or and R. Your words for this week are going to be port, north, more, store, or, roar, board, part, start, park, first, hurt, ago, carry, and people. Next, let's get into our ELA and grammar notes for this week. So this week we're going to talk about irregular past tense verbs. Now, when we say irregular, we're talking about something that doesn't follow the normal rules. So remember, a verb tells you what the subject is or does. So to find out what the verb is in your sentence, ask yourself, what is the sentence telling us that the subject is or that the subject is doing? Regular past tense verbs usually end with an ed, like walk becomes walked. Irregular past tense verbs do not end this way and are sometimes written as a different word where the spelling changes. So run becomes ran, swim becomes swam, leave becomes left, hear becomes heard, take becomes took, tear becomes torn, bring becomes brought, say becomes said, know becomes knew, make becomes made, do becomes did, and several other ones that I have here in the table for you that you can read through on your own. The next thing we're going to talk about is book titles and when we capitalize and underline things. Now, when we're writing the title of a book, we always underline the whole title. We always capitalize the first and the last word, and we also always capitalize all of the important words in that book title. So I gave you some examples here. So in the book title, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, we capitalize the name Harry Potter, but the words and the are not important words, so they're not capitalized. If we have the book The Mouse and the Motorcycle, here the word the in the beginning is capitalized because it's the first word, but when you see it in the middle of the title, it's not capitalized. We have the title for the book Where the Wild Things Are. So it begins with a capital, the whole thing is underlined. Usually the word are would not be capitalized, but because it's the last word in that book title, we do capitalize it. Next, we have Pete the cat. We have Pete is a name, so it's a proper noun that's capitalized. Cat is also one of our important words, but the word the is not important and it's in the middle, so we don't capitalize it. And we have the true story of the three little pigs. And again, you can see that same capitalization pattern that we talked about, where the first and last word are capitalized, all of the important words are capitalized, and then the small unimportant words are not capitalized. So if you're curious which words you do not capitalize in the middle of a book title, I did list some of them for you here. So the words for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so, the, in, of, on, and any other smaller unimportant words. And the last thing we're going to talk about for our notes is similes. Now, a simile is a way to compare two things that are not the same using the words like or as to compare them. So when we use similes, we have to pay attention. We must pay attention to what things are being compared. A clue to help you figure out those things is to look at what was coming before and after that comparative word, the word like or as, what came before it and what came after it. Those will usually tell you the two things that are being compared. So if I say her eyes were as green as the forest trees, so I'm talking about her eyes, and I'm comparing it, the color of her eyes, I'm comparing it to forest trees, and I'm using the word as. I'm comparing her eyes to the trees. So I'm looking before my comparing word, my word as, and I'm looking after my comparing word to see those two things that I'm talking about. Next, we have the word or the phrase, his smile was bright like the sun. So what am I comparing? Here's my comparative word like. So I'm talking about his smile and I'm comparing it to the sun. Next, we have Hamza was as hungry as a bear. So I'm comparing Hamza to a bear, right? I'm comparing his hunger to that of a bear. So always look before your comparative word and look after your comparative word to decide what two things we're talking about. The last example I have for you is her room was so clean, it sparkled like a diamond. So I'm comparing, I find my comparative word like, and I look at what came before it, what am I talking about, and what are we comparing it to? What is the thing that came after it? So I'm comparing her room to a diamond. Next, let's get into our weekly story. So your first story is called Dear Primo, and this is a letter to my cousin. So primo means cousin in Spanish.
Genre, realistic fiction. Dear Primo, A Letter to My Cousin by Duncan Tonatillo. Essential question. How are kids around the world different? Read about how two cousins live and play in America and Mexico. Score! I just got a letter from my primo, my cousin, Carlitos. I live in America, but he lives in Mexico, where my family is from. Maybe someday we'll meet. Dear Primo Charlie, how are you? Do you wonder like me what life is like far away? I live on a farm surrounded by mountains and trees. My family grows many things, such as maíz. We have a burro, pollos, and a gallo. Every morning the gallo crows and crows. Picture labels: gallo, maíz, burro, pollos. Dear Primo Carlitos, I live in a city. From my window, I can see a bridge and cars zooming by. I can see skyscrapers too. Skyscrapers are building so tall they tickle the clouds. At night, all the lights from the city look like stars from the sky. Every morning, I ride my bicicleta to school. I ride it past the perros and past the nopal. Picture labels: nopal, perros. I ride the subway to school. The subway is like a long metal snake, and it travels through tunnels underground. At recess time, I play football. My friend passes me the ball, I kick it with my foot, and if I score, I yell goal! I play basketball. My friend dribbles the ball and passes it to me. I jump and shoot. The ball goes swoosh. Nothing but net. When I come home from school, I help my mom cook. My favorite meal is quesadillas. I make them with cheese and tortillas. Picture labels: quesadillas, tortillas. In America, we have lots of different foods. My favorite is pizza. I like getting a slice on my way home from school. After I finish my homework, my mom lets me go outside and play. In Mexico, we have many games, like trompos and canicas. Picture labels: trompo, canicas. My favorite game is papalotes. My friends and I run and run, and with a little wind, we fly the papalote high up. Picture label: papalote. When I finish my homework, I play games with my friends from the building. We play by the stoop and in each other's apartments, too. I like going over to my friend's home to play video games. In the afternoon, it often gets hot. To cool off, I jump in a small rio that is nearby. Picture label: rio. Stop and check. Visualize. What do the cousins like to do when it is hot? Use the visualize strategy to help you. In the summer, the city gets hot too. I like getting splashed by the fire hydrant when the firefighters open it up and close off the block. On the weekend, I go with my parents to the mercado, an open-air market in the town nearby. We sell maíz and tunas, a prickly fruit that we grow. We also buy the food and other things we need. Picture labels: maíz, tunas. On the weekend, I go with my mom to the supermarket. She brings a list: milk, toothpaste, soap, and I check off the items as we put them in our cart. In the town, from time to time, they have fiestas that last 2 or 3 days. At night, there are cohetes that light up the sky and mariachis that play and play. Picture labels: cohetes, mariachis. In my city, sometimes we have parades. People in costumes and uniforms march down the street, and everyone gathers around to watch. There are charros in Mexico that I wish you could see. They do tricks with their caballos and reatas. Picture labels: charros, reata, caballo. On the streets here, you can see breakdancers who do flips and spin on their heads. In Mexico, we have so many traditions, such as the Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead. My favorite tradition is attending the December parties called posadas. At the end of each posada, there is a piñata filled with fruit and sweets. When someone breaks it, we all get to jump in. Picture label: stop and check. Reread. What customs does the Primo celebrate? Reread to check your understanding. In America, we have traditions too, such as Thanksgiving, when we eat turkey, and Halloween, when we dress up and go trick-or-treating. But I have to stop writing now. My mom just told me I have to brush my teeth and go to bed. I have an idea. My primo should come visit me. My primo should come visit me.
Genre: expository text. Compare texts. Read about games played by children around the world. Games around the world. What games do you and your friends like to play? Do you like outdoor games where you move around? Maybe you like to play board or computer games together indoors. Kids around the world play different games together. Games are part of a country's customs. Here are some of the games kids play in countries around the world. World map: Ghana, Australia. Stuck in the mud. Tag is a common kind of game. Children all around the world play tag games. Kids in Australia play a tag game called Stuck in the Mud. One person is it. This person tags other players. A tagged player must freeze in place, as if stuck in sticky mud. Other players can free a tagged player. To free a player, you crawl between that person's feet. The game ends when everyone is stuck in the mud. Owara. Children in Ghana play a board game called Owara. O-wa-ra. Owara is one of the oldest games in the world that people still play. Two players use a wooden game board with 12 small cups in it. Players have 48 game pieces. Usually these are nuts, beans, or pebbles. Players must plan how to move the pieces from cup to cup. The game helps you become good at math. These children in Australia are playing Stuck in the Mud. These boys from Ghana are playing Owara. Jump rope. Boys and girls around the world have played jump rope for hundreds of years. All you need is a piece of rope. Settlers from the Netherlands brought this game to America long ago. Today, some games are played with more than one rope. Jumpers can do tricks like twists and turns. There are even contests to see who can jump the most times or do the best tricks. World map: United States, France, Japan. In this game of jump rope, the girl in the middle has to jump over two ropes. Snail. Children in France play the game snail. It is like American hopscotch. Children draw a large snail on the ground with chalk. They mark off boxes inside its shell. Then kids hop to the center. Players can't put both feet down or they lose a turn. Ayatori. In Japan, kids play a game with string called ayatori. A-a-to-ri. To play, kids make a loop with the string. Then they wrap the string around their fingers to make shapes. For example, they make the string look like a broom or a ladder. The game is played alone or with a friend. Kids around the world play different games. No matter where they live, they know how to have fun. The children playing snail must hop on one foot through the chalk snail. These children are playing ayatori. Make connections. How are the games that kids around the world play different? How are these games similar to the games kids play in Dear Primo?
All right, that takes us to the end of our literature anthology readings. We're going to jump into our reading and writing workshop, and we're going to read a story called Happy New Year. This is a realistic fiction similar to stories we've read before, where it's a made-up story, but it's about a real event that happened.
Realistic. Genre: realistic fiction. Happy New Year! Essential question. How are kids around the world different? Read about a girl celebrating the New Year holiday in the United States and China. I celebrated the New Year twice in 1 year. Do you wonder how? I celebrated the holiday in the United States and then in China. On December 31st, our city had a celebration to welcome the new year. This celebration began with a parade. A band played music, and I got my face painted like a lion. Then I watched a man carve animals from ice. We were surrounded by fun. Just before midnight, everyone went to the park. The crowd counted down the last seconds of the old year. Then came my favorite part, the thing I like most. Pop, pop, pop! Fireworks like a shower of colorful lights sprinkled down from the sky. Then my family took a plane to China. A plane is huge and travels over the ocean like a whale in the sky. We celebrated Chinese New Year with Grandma. This celebration is different than in the United States. It lasts for 15 days, not just one night. After we arrived, Grandma surprised me with new red clothing. She said red brings good luck. On New Year's Eve, we went to Grandma's house. I learned many interesting Chinese customs. One custom is to have a family dinner that includes tasty dumplings. Then we stepped outdoors to watch a big parade. At the end, a rainbow of firecrackers snapped and popped in the sky. Later that week, we watched the Chinese lion dance. I'd never seen anything like it. Each pair of dancers wore a fancy lion costume made of cloth as yellow as the sun. The dancers leaped through the air and did amazing tricks. We went to the Lantern Festival on the last day of Chinese New Year. The full moon hung like a balloon in the dark sky. Everyone made paper lanterns that lit up the night. The two celebrations were different. They were the same, too. They had one thing in common. They were both exciting family celebrations to welcome the new year. Make connections. How is the New Year celebration in China different from the celebration in the United States? Compare the
All right, let's get into our comprehension strategy and skill. We're going to talk about visualizing. Now, this is an idea that we've talked about before. When you visualize, what you're doing is you're imagining or you're picturing in your head what the author is describing. And then we're going to talk about comparing and contrasting text again. And that's when we're looking at the ways things are the same and we're looking at the ways that things are different.
Visualize. When you visualize, you use the author's words to form pictures in your mind about a story. Find text evidence. After reading page 291 of Happy New Year, I used the author's words to help me visualize what was happening in the story. On December 31st, our city had a celebration to welcome the new year. This celebration began with a parade. A band played music, and I got my face painted like a lion. Then I watched a man carve animals from ice. We were surrounded by fun. Just before midnight, everyone went to the park. The crowd counted down the last seconds of the old year. Then came my favorite part, the thing I like most. Pop, pop, pop. Fireworks like a shower of colorful lights sprinkled down from the sky. I read that there was a band playing music, and the girl got her face painted like a lion. This helps me visualize the story. Compare and contrast. When you compare characters and events in a story, you look for ways they are alike. When you contrast characters and events, you tell how they are different. Find text evidence. On page 292 of Happy New Year, I can compare how long the Chinese New Year and the United States New Year last. Graphic organizer. United States celebration. How long it lasts. 1 night. Chinese celebration. How long it lasts. 15 days. Realistic fiction. The story Happy New Year is realistic fiction. Realistic fiction has made-up characters, settings, and events that could be real. It is sometimes written in the first person. Find text evidence. I can tell that Happy New Year is realistic fiction. The events in this story could be real events. The story is told by a person who could be real. Story structure. Realistic fiction sometimes uses first person. A character uses words such as I, me, we, our, my, or us to tell the story. Similes. A simile uses the words like or as to compare two different things. To understand a simile, figure out how an author compares one thing to another. Find text evidence. I read, "A plane travels over the ocean like a whale in the sky." I see the word like, so the author must be using a simile. I think the author is comparing the large size of the plane to the size of a whale. A plane is huge and travels over the ocean like a whale in the sky.
All right, that takes us to the end of our notes for this week, second grade. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I hope you have a great week. Take care.